Welcome to the Highlands United Church Celebrate 75 Chancel Museum. What you see before you are artifacts from the 75 years of life and ministry of Highlands United Church in Edgemont Village. I want to give you a bit of a guided tour. We begin in the 40s. Before we were Highlands United Church, we met in people's homes for church. Within a short amount of time, money was raised to build a church hall known as the Hillcrest Hall. A faithful and enthusiastic group of worshipers from the burgeoning community gathered each Sunday to worship, but not everyone made it to church. Some stayed home, because that's where Sunday school happens. The church was quickly to grow and almost immediately needed more space. A fundraising booklet was created to inspire and encourage people to participate. As well, here's a picture of Edgemont Village. Dirt roads and buildings popping up everywhere. And at Hillcrest Hall, cooperative preschool opened up in 1954. The 1960s. This statement is actually true. 1,000 children in Sunday school. Just look at the list of Sunday school teachers. The congregation was bursting at the seams, and Highlands had multiple Sunday school classes happening every week. There were also weekly events at the church for children and youth. And here we have the font, the baptismal font that was generously donated by the then CGIT group. (1976) saw the beginning of the famous Highlands Flea Market. Prior to that, the UCW Delbrook unit organized an annual sale with an average revenue of $1,500. In 1976, they decided to engage the entire congregation in preparation and the market. The enthusiasm was great, and the church raised $11,000 that year. 1979 saw the beginning of Christmas. Decorations that adorned a tree at Christmas time with Christian symbols, also made by members of the Delbrook UCW unit. They were made as symbols of our Christian history. And the Christmas even made the 1980 Sunday News. With a continuous stream of young families moving to the area, one might describe the 80s at Highlands as choir mania. It was the birth of the Spirit Singers, Genesis 2, God's Free Spirits. God's Free Spirits had a membership of 25 to 30 children and even had a Quiet Award, which was put to good use. Nationally, 1988 was a big year for the United Church of Canada. The church had been a major force politically and socially for decades, and the 80s was no exception. According to the United Church Archives, General Council 32 declares that all people, regardless of sexual orientation, are welcome as full members of the United Church, and all members are eligible to be considered for ordered ministry. It also affirms that God's intention for all humanity, both heterosexual and homosexual couples, is that they be faithful, responsible, just, loving, health-giving, healing, and sustaining of community and self. This is Highlands United Church's first photo directory. The Christian Task Force on Central America came into prominence in the 1990s, and members of Highlands were instrumental in the efforts of that group. One of the church's legacies in this regard is our connection to Guatemala. Although Highlands' interest in sponsoring refugees began in 1979, and the church has sponsored 25 families since then, the 90s were a busy decade for refugee sponsorship and for the Refugee Committee, as they sponsored 5 families. And these were the 5 families. These pamphlets and booklets have details of the 2 God Space campaigns. Through the generosity of members of Highlands United, these 2 capital campaigns raised over $2 million to replace, repair, and renew the building of Highlands United Church. Here are the drawings for God Space 2. Although there have been many musical nights, themed nights, dances, and in-house written musicals in the history of Highlands, ticket-selling musical productions advertised to the general public really kicked off in the 2010s with the production of Godspell. Musicals have been happening about every other year ever since. Recognize any of these people? COVID hit the world hard in 2020, and Highlands adapted to the challenge. From moving to a completely online worship and a sanctuary filled with paper cutouts of people's faces to a growing online prayer community, this church was reminded about the benefits of flexibility. Worship can be flexible, Christians can be flexible, the church can be flexible, and through it all, God accompanies. And as we move into the next 75 years, let us stand on the shoulders of those who have come before, those who have paved a path that we walk, those who gave us the courage and the wisdom to pave the path for those who will walk after us. Thanks be to God.